Hello everyone and welcome. This is going to be a tutorial on raiding, how to get into the raids, some do's and don'ts, and some basic etiquette of what to do when you first start raiding. If you've raided before, you may already know some of these things and you may not. Either way, it should be pretty informative. Maybe you're raiding for skill credits for 10,000 per boss. Maybe the higher gear score is what you're after, the gear level up to 300. Maybe the top tier items you'd like to get, or the top class tier items, special weapons that are only dropped by the bosses, like the Goblin or the Gargoyle, the Quantum Vector, the Cerberus, and the infamous M4A1 level 300 that a lot of people have been looking for. Of course, the M4A1 300 or any level after 250. It's not really a boss drop itself. You do get it on a boss. Obviously, it's going to be a higher level, but it's simply a random drop that you can get from doing boss raids. Again, you're looking for that 300, so it's going to be during a boss raid. So no matter what your reason for raiding, I hope you all find this tutorial informative. Alright, so let's get started. First thing you're going to need to know is you're going to need to be at least gear score level 150, and that's due, of course, to the difficulty of the raids themselves. You're going to want to come here to Golem Island, to the raid entrance. It's located right here. So next we're going to need to discuss your loadout. Weapons to you are optional. You can kind of bring whatever you want, but I am going to recommend what I think you should bring into a raid. To be honest, there are specific weapons that you're going to want to use, and there's specific weapons you're not going to want to use. I've got to say right up front, shotguns and SMGs are an absolute no. Your pistol is probably going to be used one of the least that you carry, but you have to carry it. Unfortunately, you can't get rid of it out of your inventory. Something you're going to absolutely need or want to use in a raid, though, is an assault rifle. There are a lot of assault rifles that you can choose from. I'm not going to be specific on which ones you can use, but I am going to let you know the ones that are some of the better that you can use. The M4A1, I can't harp on this one enough as being one of the best assault rifles in the game because you can mod it so many times. The 416, also a great weapon. 5.53, just to set a few examples. And you're going to want to bring a DMR or a sniper rifle just for the higher damage as a secondary weapon. It's not going to be your primary typically, but if you obviously, so you look in the video here, I'm using the Cerberus, which you get on the boss drop for the critical boss Cerberus under the critical raid. There are going to be many instances in your gameplay during the raids, not just on the boss fights, that you're going to actually want to use your DMR or your sniper rifle for your long distance shooting. And you want that accuracy that you make sure you don't wake up the rest of the base or the additional enemies around that person that you're taking out. So that would be recommended. So a high-powered rifle is fine. DMR of your choice is fine. I do have other tutorials on what DMRs are good that you can use, but just again, a sniper rifle DMR as a secondary is great. Alright, so to start the raid, you're going to want to go up here in your loadout menu to the left corner and to the lobby, and you're going to go up to join public matchmaking. You're going to choose raids, and here you can, of course, you choose your level of difficulty. You can choose any, which means you're just going to go into any raid, whether it's low, regular, or critical, or you can choose regular or critical. It's your choice. And just to mention a little bit about your difficulties in your raids. So there's low, there's regular, and critical. Low raid technically is something that most people don't play. You're not going to find too many players wanting to play it. That's due to the fact that it just doesn't have any high level drops from the bosses. It's more of a tutorial raid. It's more of a learning raid. If you and 3 friends would like to get on it, you can certainly try and enjoy doing it just to kind of get used to how to raid. It's a great learning tool. The bosses are much easier, the enemies are much easier, but unfortunately, again, that's not a raid that you're going to find normal players playing in. The regular raid now, your drops are going to be from the bosses. It's 2 weapons, and it's going to be 2 items or gear, and you can get the higher gear items because your first raid is going to actually technically drop 256. Your second raid that you do, or your second boss fight that you do, is going to be 260, then 264, then 268, and that's just your first 4 drops that you're going to get from your first 4 raid bosses. Your second drops are going to be around 272, 276. 280, 284, and so forth. It's going to keep going up. It takes technically about 18 boss fights to get your first level 300 drop. And if you go by the raid schedule, the raids actually restart every Tuesday. So your drops are every Tuesday. You can only do them once a week and get an actual high-end boss drop. That runs technically 2.5 weeks to get your first 300 level boss drop. All right, when you first start your initiation to public matchmaking to a raid, when you get in a raid or when you start a raid, just make sure that you're in the right raid area on Golem Island. Try not to be doing a mission or a match or running around different islands or different areas because people are going to get in your raid looking to raid and you're not ready, and they're going to be asking you things like, are you raiding or what's going on? Where are you? Come on up here. They're going to try to tell you to join them in the raid area because again, you've chosen to do raiding. So please make sure that when you are doing this, that you're not actually in the middle of a mission doing something else. You're actually ready to start raiding. And you should know that sometimes it takes a bit to get into a good team or any team whatsoever. Sometimes you get kicked. Sometimes your gear score isn't high enough, and maybe they're higher level raiders and they want to run through it really quick. But there are a lot of good raiders out there that are interested in helping and trying to help you get your gear score up or helping work with you. Just be kind of open to talking to them. If you only want to do regular or critical, you can also leave the raid you join if you find out, let's say it's in critical, but you only need regular. You don't have to stay in the raid. You can certainly jump out of the raid. Just, try to give the guys a heads up if you're going to jump out of the raid because they just got you in. They may have been waiting for a while to get a new person in. Whatever the reason, you want to be courteous and try to let them know that, hey, sorry guys, I just need regular. I'll see you guys later. Um, again, it's courtesy. Next, and one of the most important things I actually consider for a raid, for a teammate or for a person to do is have communication. This is key. You're going to hear me say this a lot through this tutorial, but you just joined a raid with other people, not AI teammates. You're going to be doing things throughout the raid, especially the boss fights, that you have to communicate. Otherwise, you'll find yourself either getting kicked or you'll turn a simple 45-minute raid into 4 hours, or everyone will start getting frustrated. So make sure that you have some form of communication. If you don't have any kind of communication verbally, you can certainly type. They can accept your messages as long as you can hear them, let them know you can hear them. But communication is one of the biggest key factors in having a successful raid and actually having an enjoyable raid. So like I said, you don't have to talk as long as you can type, but there has to be some form of communication. All right, next let's discuss how to proceed when you actually get into the raid and you start the raid. So it is very annoying if you join a raid and you go in guns blazing. You need to understand that in a raid, no matter what your level is, there are actually modifiers already in the raid, not just in critical, but regular also has the modifiers. And what this does is it makes the enemies much more difficult to fight. They have a bigger span area that they're looking at. They can see you from a distance. They can start shooting at you a lot better. They have better accuracy. So there are modifiers in the raid itself. So if you go in guns blazing, you start waking everybody up around you. Again, you're going to turn a short, 5-10 minute opportunity of getting intel to get to the raid bosses into like 45 minutes, because then you got your teammates getting aggravated. There's no longer stealth. They're having to run around and fight enemies. And if you go down, then they have to figure out how to get to you and get you up. So one of the best things is try to stay stealthy. Try to make sure that you don't alert the bases, you don't alert the teams of personnel that you're going to be fighting against. When you're driving past vehicles, don't shoot at the vehicles unless everybody's okay with it, or they're okay with it, because now you're going to activate the vehicle to turn around and start fighting you. So make sure that you stay stealthy as much as you possibly can. I'd also like to add a tip when you are running stealth or stealth into a fight. And this is same for regular gameplay, even if you're not doing raids. If you're going to take someone out, make sure that you take out the guys next to them, the ones that can actually see them. Definitely take out the radio guy when you come into an area. He's the comms guy with the symbol above his head. It looks like a comm. He's actually the snitch. He's going to tell on you. He's going to call in for backup. So you certainly want to take him out. But if obviously there's somebody looking at him, somebody near him, you want to take those out too. This is where sync shot drones actually come in really handy, or letting your teammates know, again, on communication, that you want to take out the snitch, and you want them to take out the person next to them if you don't have any sync shots set up. right, well, let's go ahead and start reviewing maybe some of the top tier level weapons that you're going to get from the drops. These are actually the boss weapons. So let's take a look here. So this is actually the CSFP ball. This is what you're going to get from the Behemoth ball when you fight him. It's his signature weapon. That's why you see the gold star there. It is a full auto pistol. Looks pretty good. Looks just like a Glock in real life. That is the only automatic pistol in the game. So it's actually kind of fun to play with. It's not very accurate because it's got a lot of recoil, but 31 hit damage, 220 on the exchange of the rounds, so it's pretty decent. Alright, the next weapon is called the CTMMG Ball. It is the one you actually also get from Ball. It is an LMG. It says increasing accuracy while shooting. I'd like to say, unfortunately, this is not true. This is probably the worst weapon in the game. Sorry, Ubisoft and Ghost Recon creators, but this weapon is horrible. I'd like to say it's a stormtrooper weapon. If they stand directly in front of you, you probably won't hit them. I just keep this weapon just so that I have it in my inventory, but again, I got to tell you, it's probably the worst weapon in the game. You could probably throw it at people and injure them from the weapon itself, not the bullets. Alright, next this is the MK17 Shorty Gargoyle, or the Mark 17 Shorty Gargoyle. It's dropped on the Gargoyle boss drop. It does take grenade launcher, MAL-DA laser. You can't really change the color on it, but it's actually a pretty decent weapon. In reality, this is the actual saw. The only thing it has for a perk, though, is optimal mobility. And the next weapon you'll get is the Cobblend, also dropped on Gargoyle. It does 30% extra damage to drones. It's the signature weapon for Nomad. It's actually a 516, but it's got a lot better hit damage. It's got 32 hit damage per bullet. It's only a 220 reload speed, so it's super fast. It's very accurate, so I love this weapon. And the next weapon we're looking at is the Vector Quantum. This one's actually dropped on the supercomputer. It has absolutely no recoil. It runs only 18 hit damage per bullet, and it's 45 auto. But the thing is, it runs at 1,800 bullets per minute on your rotations. So it's actually going to go through a magazine pretty fast. Now, the magazines are only 30 rounds, but you can put the MAL-DA laser on this one. It is internally suppressed, so you can't take that off. And it has a grenade launcher. So it's actually a great SMG if you're going to be using it during gameplay. The next weapon also dropped on the computer is the MGL Quantum. Now, this one we don't really use very much in gameplay. It is just a typical grenade launcher, but the only cool thing about it is it does have 60% cooldown for your technique. So if you're carrying this in your loadout, even if you're not using it, your technique actually fills back up much faster on your technique gauge for your special ability. Alright, the next weapon we're looking at is the Boss G12 shotgun. Now you get this on the Cerberus fight. You'll get it from the Cerberus boss when you beat him. It is a 12 gauge shotgun. It does shoot slugs, so you can actually hit enemies up to around 300 meters with this gun. So if you have any missions out there that you need to do something with a shotgun at its super distance, this is definitely the one you want to use. It's an over-under. It's only a 2-shot. It's super fast reload though after the first shot. Its perk is only reload speed after a kill, but again, it's already fast to begin with as long as you reload after the first shot. Unfortunately, like I said, it's only a 2-shot. It's 129 hit damage. It's a beast. It sounds great when you shoot it. I actually enjoy playing with this, and if I'm just going to go loud anytime during gameplay or a raid. Next weapon we're going to discuss is the M82 Cerberus. Now, this is the very high-powered, most powerful weapon in the game. You get this specifically on the boss drop for defeating Cerberus on the critical raid. You'll get it no matter what. It is a guaranteed drop. You're getting 50 additional hit damage per bullet, and it's 237 already. So you're looking at 287 hit damage per bullet. Now, it is only 5 rounds, but if you change your magazine after the 4th round, it does actually change pretty quick between magazines. It's a one-hitter on most things, as far as like if you're hitting a vehicle, you can shoot the vehicle in the engine block. If you shoot a helicopter directly into the front of the helicopter, most of the time it'll take it down. 2 shots on helicopters on any other time of that, though. You can change pretty much the scopes, and you can change the suppressor or no suppressor on it, but that's all you can actually do on the modifications. Alright, the next weapon I'd like to discuss is the 4AC. Now, this is not a boss weapon. You can buy it for, I believe, 45,000 scale credits in the shop at any time with Maria's shop. This is technically a really great boss weapon. A lot of people use this weapon for the boss fights. I use this weapon for the boss fights myself. It's a laser once you get your weapon mastery up. The reload speed, the damage to drones is actually pretty good. You can add the multi laser, the 100-round magazine, the compensator. I use folding iron sights. I don't really need to use any kind of sight on it because I shoot over the shoulder. Core CP on there, the auto single shooting, and then the RU vertical foregrip. This thing is a monster when it comes to fighting the bosses, so I love this weapon. Lastly, I'd like to go ahead and throw out the M4A1 300. This is the infamous weapon that pretty much everyone is after. Sometimes you get lucky and you get it within the first month or so of raiding. Other times it takes you quite a while to get it. I know some people out there have been out there looking for it for a long time, and unfortunately they still have not gotten it. But this is the 300 M4A1. It's my favorite weapon of the game. I use it for almost everything, whether it's just fighting bosses, whether it's actually just regular gameplay, or whether it's actually doing it for raid gameplay. I don't play much PvP. I'm sure it's probably pretty decent in PvP, but I don't want to say that because, again, I don't actually play PvP. So, alright, the last thing I like to discuss is glitches or glitching. If you're decided that you've gotten to a raid that you want to glitch for whatever reason, whether you've done it before, whether you're a 300 player and you've only done glitching to get your high level, no matter what your reason for, if you're interested in glitching, there's a lot of tutorials out there that teach you how to do it. This is not one of them, but I would like to mention, if you are interested in glitching when you get into a raid, before you start the raid, please let your teammates know that you're interested in glitching, or that's how you want to do it, or that you haven't really done anything but glitching. The reason for this is you don't really want to waste your time and their time by getting all the way to the boss fight, and when you get there you try to glitch, or you don't really know what you're doing because you've never legitimately done a raid. There's a lot of great legit players out there that don't actually like to use glitches, even though these are just exploits that the game has had in them. You didn't create these, but again, glitching is something that you want to make sure your teammates are aware of before you actually try to do it. So, alright guys, that's pretty much the end of the tutorial. I just want to thank everybody for watching, and happy raiding. Alright, everybody ready? Kill them.